When we start with asana practice, we get an incredible high. So much of that is attributed to breathing consciously for the first time, exploring our bodies in never before discovered angles, and staying present, hence developing mind control. However, after a few months of practice, when things aren't new anymore, so many of us don't get that vitalizing feeling. And this is not just true with asana practice, this is true with other forms of physical exercise as well. This leads to people being irregular with their asana practice, and on the days that they do practice, the physical intensity isn't 100%. The staying present part doesn't seem sustainable for the entirety of the practice. You just feel lost and unclear, the exact opposite of what a yogic practice intends to teach you. If you find yourself in such a situation, have you questioned yourself that why is that? Why am I not enjoying my practice anymore? Well, it could be due to a multitude of factors, and through this video I intend to break them down so that you can renew your practice and keep it sustainable over the long haul. One reason is that your practice isn't adequately challenging. Through asana practice, especially through fluid practices such as vinyasa yoga, you want to stay in a state of flow. You want to stay in an immersive state so that external disturbances don't hinder your practice. This flow state is achieved when your practice is neither outrageously difficult nor exceptionally easy. Finally, I've used neither and nor in a sentence. I learnt it in class 8th, never got a chance to use it. It is difficult but somewhat doable. Now, although asana practice has a ton of postures, millions, billions is too much, millions is also too much. Even if there are thousands, they are a lot. And you can explore your bodies in a lot of different ways. But a well-curated asana practice which caters to your strength, mobility and flexibility needs would have a fair share of repeated postures. Even to reach really complex postures such as one-legged crow, you would have to practice the conventional crow to an extent that you develop control over it. And that control will come with a lot of practice, a lot of repetition. Now, repetition leads to boredom if it's not challenging you physically. So you have to make sure that you're adequately increasing the level of your practice. This can be done by holding the same posture for longer durations, adding minor modifications in the same posture such as holding crow pose on your fists instead of on your hands, working on cleaner transitions to or from an asana, such as instead of stepping back to chaturanga, you float back to chaturanga. However, an extremely critical point here is not to forego the crux of an asana. In the quest of making your practice challenging, do not forget that the crux of an asana is to be peacefully alert in a posture. In Sanskrit, that is Sthir Sukham Asanam. A solid way to do that is to reach your physical edge without breaching it. Now, how would you know that you are breaching your edge so that you don't? One way is to understand the difference between pain and strain. Shooting or pinching pain in your joints or your muscles isn't good for you. Bearable strain that your body can handle is good for your muscles and joints over time. So instead of no pain, no gain, think on the lines of no strain, no gain. The second reason is to be mindful of where your drishti is during the practice. Drishti means point of view or gaze, or where you are looking at while you're practicing. It is a highly overlooked but extremely important aspect of asana practice. But why? Developing drishti while performing asana adds the attention aspect back to repetitive movements. The mind enters a state of dharana or concentration when you fix your gaze at a particular point, making your asana practice yogic instead of mindless movement. One other important attribute of drishti is to enhance body balance. Your vision is extremely important when it comes to maintaining body balance. If your vision is not focused and is haphazard, your practice will also show the same traits. Now, where should you fix your gaze? As a general rule of thumb, your gaze should be placed at a point which best supports your asana. For example, if you're doing vrikshasana, looking straight will enhance your posture. However, if you want to make an accomplished posture challenging, you can steadily move your gaze, such as looking up when you're doing vrikshasana. Now, the gaze should be soft. You are not a CBI officer interrogating a terrorist. You are neither a jealous boyfriend inquiring about the whereabouts of your girl. You are a yogi. So keep things chill. Straining the eyes will quickly tire them, making your face tense and hence making your practice rigid. You would rather want to be like water when you practice instead of stone cold ice. When holding postures, the gaze should be at an immovable object. When I teach in a group setting, I often notice beginners looking at me for instructions instead of listening to my commands. This first looking, checking and then performing always keeps you a step behind. You're always stopping, then performing. You're always pausing, then playing. This is not viable for a smooth fluid practice. If you are new and confused, it is completely fine to look and learn. learn, but pretty soon start to listen and groove. In that process, fix your gaze at an immovable object when you're holding postures, and when you're transitioning into an asana, keep your gaze steadily moving so that you stay in the zone and flow freely. In tricky postures such as arm balances, look where you're headed instead of unconsciously looking where your neck is leading you. Such as in crow pose, there is a common tendency to look back. However, to maintain balance, you have to transfer weight forward. That happens efficiently if your gaze is slightly forward. I can keep talking about drishti till the end of time itself, forever and ever and ever. However, I will stop here. At your end, keep the above points in mind and start developing your own practice, making it more personal. Keep asking yourself that where should I look so that I can find the best version of my asana. Now, the two reasons that we have talked about, that is make your practice adequately challenging and developing your drishti, are more physiological in nature. The next two reasons are going to be more philosophical in nature. However, they are equally important. The third reason is to make your practice a tapasya. Tapas means to burn. Its interpretation is to pursue a practice with a fiery enthusiasm that causes a form of self-induced suffering, such as putting in the hours on your craft even on days where temporary emotions cloud your judgment. Performing tapasya or burning or being disciplined purifies your practice. Anubhav Singh Bassi's first stand-up comedy set on YouTube, Cheating, got viral overnight, making him a star. Now, he didn't perform that 10-minute set a few times. That I have talent, I'm from Meerut, I'm funny. Why won't I get viral? This was not his attitude. He performed that 10-minute set around 300 times over a span of an year. Day in, day out, he did his tapasya. That's why the stand-up set was so tight, so purified, so clear. So you can make your practice creative and adequately challenging. You can develop your drishti, but you have to do your tapasya to make your practice clinical. So religiously perform your tapasya, and especially remember this concept on days where temporary emotions cloud your judgment. The fourth reason is developing brahmacharya. Brahma means infinity and charya means to move. Put them together and you get moving towards infinity. The interpretation of this is to gradually detach ourselves from immaterial things and drive our efforts towards the bigger picture. The bigger picture of asana practice is to keep our bodies free from injuries or diseases that might arise due to sedentary living, so that progression towards our spiritual or materialistic goals is smoother. Your tapasya will stay sustainable if you have the bigger picture in mind. Without brahmacharya, tapasya won't sustain itself. To better understand it, think of monks. They don't just meditate because they like sitting cross-legged and closing their eyes, and this is the best form of entertainment that is available to them. They meditate because they want to get liberation. The legendary basketball player Kobe Bryant didn't do his tapasya just because he liked to net a ball. I will net a 2-pointer from here and a 3-pointer from here. Kach, it will go down clearly. That was not his bigger picture. His bigger picture was to be the greatest ever. Hence, his tapasya was sustaining itself. So at your end, keep the bigger picture of asana practice in mind, which intends to keep you healthy and disease-free. That way, sustaining your asana practice won't be an issue. Hopefully, these tenets not only renew your asana practice, but ignites a flame within you that stays lit forever. Stay healthy and disease-free. Happy practicing.